focus in 2010 was about that single player experience. We put a lot of time into career mode and we want to continue pushing that forwards, basically revisiting all the areas that we had in 10 and improving them for 11. But multiplayer is something that we can play in the office. Multiplayer is something you can play at home. Split screen we consider in that multiplayer bracket as well. It's about getting more people together to play Formula One. I mean, I've played lots of racing games or other games. They've become very kind of social when you can phone your mate up and say, or text them and say, we're online tonight. You couldn't really do that so much for 2010 Formula One. The multiplayer mode was relatively simplistic for this day and age. So we've really been trying to push that and make a difference there. The key things for us really, headline features are going to be split screen. A load of people are asking for that in 2010. And when it comes to Formula One and the 24 cars, we were thinking, can we really do split screen? That's going to be a real challenge. But all credit to the guys, we've got that in, thanks to the Dirt 3 team as well. We've also got cooperative championship in there as well now. So you and I, for example, can be teammates at Ferrari or McLaren and fight our way through the season, trying to improve the fortunes of the car, doing the research and development together, sharing tips on car setup, trying to out-qualify one another, be the team leader. All the stuff that you could have had fun with in single player is now available in multiplayer and online. So it becomes more personal now. When you're watching the timing boards and you see your teammate in an equal car going a bit faster than you or out-qualifying you, you're thinking, that means something to me now because it's my mate doing it. We've also increased the number of cars online in order to make that a reality. There's 24 cars in Formula One these days, and last year we only had a 12-car grid. Now we've got the full 24 cars online. If you're playing a normal multiplayer game, that means you can have up to 16 human players and you can fill the rest of the grid with 8 AI. So you do get that, the longer races can really play out properly, just like the single player experience now. It felt a bit empty when there was only 12 cars on track. We've also got multiplayer objectives. I don't know about you, but sometimes when you join a multiplayer lobby and you realise, actually everybody that's in here is a really high rank, or they've been playing it for ages, or they've got the best stuff, the best car in this case. Now you're given objectives based on your skill level, your experience on the track, the kind of car that you're in, the settings for the session. So if I'm in the Lotus and not really expecting to win the race, I haven't got curves for starters, I'm at a disadvantage. I'm not expected to win as you would do most racing games. I'm expected to maybe come 15th or 20th, and if I overachieve on that, it's a great achievement for me.
So you've gone from 12 online to 16. Is the ultimate aim to try and get those 24 somewhere down the line?
Yeah, definitely. It's not so much our technology as well. I mean, it's about kind of Xbox and PlayStation Network, the limitations that they place on the systems in order to have a good quality race. That's important to them, obviously, whereas we're kind of going, well, we want to push these boundaries. We want to get 24 cars online, which is a bit of a big ask. So we've made a big leap this year. I think for the follow-up title in 2012, should we do that, then hopefully we'll push that a bit further. But there's pros and cons for all the different formats that we support, you know, PlayStation 360 and PC. They've all got like a good advantage in them. The PC's kind of, you can almost do what you want, but we're still running through games for Windows Live. There are restrictions around things that you can and cannot do. But for developers, that's not a good situation to be in, because it means you need to dedicate resources to particular areas in order to maximise them. What we're trying to do is have a great quality experience, and when we get up to 24 cars online, should we ever do that, it will be rolled out onto all the formats. It would probably be a real challenge for us just to try and do it dedicated to PC. People often talk about dedicated servers, but that takes away from something else. Maybe even some other features have to be dropped on the PC version. This is a long-term thing for Codemasters. Everybody always wants something yesterday or today or tomorrow. Whereas we're going, we'd love to do that as well. We're giving you loads of new stuff this year, but if we keep pushing this license, and we'll give everything to everybody eventually. In Co-op Championship, you can be on the same team and it's kind of treated as it's your teammate. When it comes to multiplayer online, the normal free-for-all that you'd get in most racing games, you can be in the same car, so technically you're a teammate, but you are rivals, and you don't really play out through the season. But now, one of the restrictions we had last year with 12 cars was there could only be one manufacturer in for each kind of player. So you could only have one Ferrari, you couldn't have 2 Ferraris. So we've overcome that now by increasing the player count. Physics has been improved dramatically. Like I was saying in the presentation earlier, the important thing for us to remember is it's still a racing game. We're still trying to hone the driving experience. A load of people said to us when we started doing this press tour, why do you even bother updating the handling? I enjoyed it in 2010. And I thought it was good, but we knew we wanted to be up there. So it's about keep pushing that forwards, trying to make the car feel more involving. In 2010 it was about coming to a corner and turning in, committing and then driving out again. You could make small little mistakes and they would cost you loads of time. Now it's about making loads of small little mistakes and then remembering, oh, I did that because I locked up, or I twitched the steering, or the back was starting to come out and I managed to catch it. Things that you see them adjusting in online or in real races at the moment when you drive on board with them. And you see how hard some of the drivers have to work in the different teams in order to keep their car on the limit and get that lap time. That's what we've been chasing this year. So you kind of feel as though you've done a lap and you think, oh, there was like 3 areas that I could have improved in that. I could do a bit more, I could work on the car setup. It just feels better to drive more realistic now. Yeah, AI, as far as we're concerned, needed to be improved. Certainly for the hardcore players who are very quick and very consistent. That was one of the deficiencies perhaps in 2010, where on certain tracks they would lift where the player could go flat, for example, or they'd brake a bit early in comparison to the player. We've always been trying to chase that rhythm through the different difficulty levels, so you can follow an AI car through a race. Now, as you've seen in some of these presentations now, I did a race with Nick Hamilton earlier. We were both beaten by Kobayashi. Now, the AI can be particularly quick in this game, and it makes it a real challenge. But it also makes those longer races enjoyable because you start chipping away at them over time, and that's what we've been chasing. Not the 1 or 3 lap sprints, it's about the longer game for Formula 1. Well, Live for Life for us is all about kind of replicating the things that you would see on TV. So last year, for example, if you did well enough to finish in the top 3 of a race, you'd get the results screen, you'd have your race engineer saying congratulations, but drivers get more than that in real life. You see them driving into the pit lane, you see them getting out of the car and celebrating with other drivers, that Parc Fermé sequence. So we've got that now, so it feels kind of more reward, these cinematic sequences, even when you're in teams that have overachieved outside of the Parc Fermé, the top 3. You see them celebrating with engineers in the garage, or winning the World Championship is special now. We didn't have time to put all that stuff in, so now with another year's worth of development, it just feels far more realistic. I mean, if there are a lot of people on side and they want a particular feature, that might kind of press us to re-evaluate situations, or sometimes it even reaffirms us. Like myself, I might be asking for, I want to be able to change the fuel mixture on the car, for example. That's a relatively hardcore feature, managing your fuel in a race, and that's only pertinent to the hardcore and longer races. But I'd like to put that in there. It's not a particularly difficult thing for us to put in. So it helps if on the forum I've mentioned that idea of possibly putting that in, and then loads of people go, I vote for that, I vote for that, and I can use that to kind of substantiate my claim for including that feature. We try to interact with the forum, and some developers is a bit of a no-no, but I think Codemasters should be praised for allowing us to run Twitter, for example, so you can interact with the fans. But it also means that you're in the firing line. They spot anything and they mention it. They spot something in the dev diary when you're making a work-in-progress game. You're aware of it and they go, well, I hope that's not in the final one. Well, it won't be, but a load of people will mention it, so I'll get the same messages all the time. But you learn to accept that, and it's just something that we have to get on with in order to kind of maintain that relationship with the fans. And the hardcore like to point things out because maybe they've been treated unfairly in the past, or feel as though people haven't been listening to them. We listen to all their comments they make, we read them all. And more often than not, we know about things before that they do. But they're just unaware of the fact that you're trying as a developer to make the most of the resources that are available in the time. Whereas most people externally go, well, it's a blank sheet of paper, you've got $10 billion and you can make the game that you want to. It's not reality. Formula One's a very volatile sport. There's always a lot of changes. Like there's a plethora of new rules in this season. It's about replicating that, and people want to, for example, if they hear Ant or Crofty and when they're commentating talk about DRS or KERS, and players want that in their game as well. So they want to catch up with that stuff. They want to replicate what's going on in reality. So as long as Formula One keeps it bubbling over, I think there's always a reason for at least the hardcore to buy into it every year. But for us, we've got a load of ideas for keep spicing the game up, reason to kind of attract people. We're still scratching the surface as far as we're concerned. And for us, right at the beginning of development, we didn't launch a 2009 next-gen game. We waited till 2010, and the Wii title came out in 2009. So we gave ourselves that head start. Now we just keep it rolling. And I think it's up to you guys to judge whether or not it's justified for us to bring out a game every year. A lot of people were saying this to us this time last year. They were saying, well, you're making a Formula One game, we've seen Formula One games over the years, they've been declining over time. Well, we came out and sold 4 or 5 times more than them. Got some awards for trying to mix things up. And it wasn't just a case of we had one bag of ideas and that was used up in 10. We've got loads of new stuff for 11. So what we tried to do was think, right, these guys want that kind of feature. That bloke probably won't be interested in that, but we've got to have some reason to hook him into it. These guys are screaming for split screen. There's a load of things to hook a variety of different players in. But it doesn't just stop with 11. We've got well, if I could release that information on all the features that we could put into a Formula One game, you'd see it would span over a number of years. And it's certainly very true to say internally at Codemasters, the senior management team, they're always saying to us developers, make sure it's just not a one-hit wonder. Make sure you've got plans for the future. Trust me when I say we've got plans for many a year. But it's about now, with another year's worth of development, we've improved that massively. It's last year we maybe run into a few walls where you're thinking, well, how does that work? How do they get the most out of this? That experience means that we're able to put it into effect now, 2011. That's why you can see the differences between the track lighting on 10 and the experience that you have driving around the circuits to 2011. That's just a few months worth of work, and that will keep building up over time.